Hi, this is Alex from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another book on record episode to do. Today's book is Knight Rider Highway to Danger from 1985. So let's get started.
This is your Knight Rider read-along book. Every time you hear this chime, it means it's time to turn the page in your storybook. Now, if you are ready, we will start the story, Highway to Danger. Don't forget to turn the page every time you hear the chime. Hello, I'm the mainframe memory computer, case history section, Knight Enterprises. I have file 1420 online for interface at this time. It all began on a chilly morning in late April. Michael Knight was flying back into Los Angeles from a secret meeting with the FBI in Washington, D.C. Well before arrival time, allowing for freeway traffic, Kit, the computer in Michael's car, fired up the big Trans Am power plant and opened the garage door. A protesting squeal of rubber heated up the cool pavement, and he roared off toward the airport. It was an uneventful trip, except for the man who lost his false teeth when he looked over as Kit downshifted and pulled up beside him at a red light with nobody in the driver's seat. Kit pulled in at the airport offloading ramp as Michael's jet touched down with a puff of tire smoke and the roar of its turbines reversing. When the plane came to a halt, the hatch opened and Michael appeared. He slid into the car seat. Kit was glad that he was back. They headed north for the coast highway as Michael checked in with Devon. An ominous weather front was moving in off the Pacific, and the first drops of rain splashed on the windshield. Lightning slashed at the ocean, and thunder rumbled as the Trans Am streaked along the black ribbon of highway. The storm had passed, and moonlight filled the room. Michael lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. It had been after midnight when he checked into the Pine Inn in Carmel. It was after 2 now, and his contact was late. He checked with Kit on the watch radio, but the street outside was quiet. Nothing was moving. There was only a dog barking somewhere, and the gentle sound of the sea. That's when the knock came at the door. The password was answered, and he opened it. Chun-Li stood there, beautiful and inscrutable. She quickly came to the point. Her uncle's importing business had been taken over by a criminal gang. They were forcing her uncle to work for them, smuggling. She lay a sample of their wares on the table. The M16's metal finish shone dully in the moonlight. Following Chun-Li's directions, Michael shifted into a lower gear, and the Trans Am's powerful engine attacked the grade on one of San Francisco's steep streets. Then, suddenly, an empty cable car topped the crest of the hill and headed straight at them, bell clanging. It was being piloted by a man with red in his eyes and their destruction on his mind. Michael automatically stood on the brake, cut the wheel hard, slammed into a lower gear, and floored it. The Trans Am blasted out of the high-speed turn and charged down the hill, chased by the cable car. That's when the garbage truck eased out of a side street. Michael reacted quickly, and tires whipping at the pavement, the Trans Am missed the truck by inches and shot up the side street. The cable car wasn't so lucky. In Chinatown, Kit was nervous about being left vulnerable to the humanities surging around him, but there wasn't much he could do about it. In her uncle's apartment building, Michael preceded Chun-Li up the dark, narrow staircase to the top landing, where they paused to catch their breath. It was quiet, except for the sounds of living coming through apartment doors. A baby crying, an argument in Chinese. Michael looked at Chun-Li, and she pointed to the end of the hallway. There was no sound from the other side of the door to her uncle's apartment. Michael was ready to shoulder his way through when Chun-Li pushed and it swung open. The inside of the place was empty and looked like a bomb had gone off, totally destroyed. And there was blood on the floor. Back on the street, Michael tried to reassure Chun-Li. The gang was onto them. That much was obvious. The problem was what to do next, before it was done to them. Just then, a raucous celebration burst around the corner. A mob of laughing, yelling people paraded up the narrow street, filling it from curb to curb. Young boys were tossing packs of firecrackers, which went off in hundreds of explosions around the feet of the men under the colorful serpentine dragon. It bobbed and weaved its way toward them. One of the dragon's eyes winked. When the slug splattered near them, Michael realized it was a shot and yanked Chun-Li back into a doorway. He saw the gunman dart out from under the dragon and escape into the crowd. So far, the gang had made it tough for Michael and Chun-Li, and it was about to get worse. Michael sat bolt upright in the chair the next morning, suddenly wide awake, and aware that Chun-Li wasn't there. The note she left said she'd gone back to her uncle's apartment to look for something, and she wanted him to meet her there. Kit brought the car around front, and Michael thanked a very confused doorman as he got into the car. Then the Trans Am peeled out of the hotel driveway, headed toward Chinatown. The sounds were familiar as Michael climbed the stairs to the apartment. The door was standing open, and Michael eased into the room. There was no Chun-Li. But this time, there was a body to go with the bloodstains. Chun-Li's uncle was lying barely conscious on the floor. He managed to mumble two things: south toward Fresno and fireworks warehouse. Then he passed out. Heading south, the big Trans Am power plant throbbed. But south where? Toward Fresno? There was a lot of territory between San Francisco and Fresno. Kit made the observation that failure to acquire the name of the import firm had been bad form. Devin said he'd see what he could do about tracking down something. Then Michael had an idea. He looked in his rearview mirror and wondered where was a cop when you needed one. He pressed the accelerator down and the car leaped forward, pushing him back against his seat. Kit wanted to know what was up. When the siren cut the air and Michael saw the flashing red lights, he smiled. But the smile disappeared when his question about a fireworks warehouse along that route was answered with a ticket and the advice that fireworks were dangerous and illegal. It was only a wide place in the road, but it had a filling station and a diner, so Michael pulled in for gas and coffee. When he came out of the diner, there were some teenage boys on dirt bikes revving and doing wheelies in front. But the sound that grabbed Michael's attention was the series of popping explosions caused when one of the boys threw down a pack of firecrackers. Michael called out, but the boys took off in a cloud of blue smoke. Kit wheeled the Trans Am around and Michael jumped in. The bikes turned off the highway and he followed them, eating dust but gaining ground. They left the road and started across country. The Trans Am edged ahead and slid to a halt in front of the bikes, cutting them off. Michael asked where they got in the fireworks, and they answered, from the Chinaman down the road. Michael cut the engine and rolled to a stop a half-mile from the house that sat alone on a small rise. With Kit driving, he crouched and moved forward again, using the car for cover. He pulled out his pistol. The chatter of an automatic weapon began, and the slugs ricocheted off the Trans Am. Nearer the house, Michael squeezed off a round. A man tumbled out of the upstairs window and fell to the ground. The firing ceased. Then, a truck careened around the corner of the house, with bullets spitting from the cab. Michael leaped aside as it glanced off the Trans Am and roared away. He let it go. Inside, Michael freed Chun-Li. Sore but unhurt, she told the location of the warehouse. The mission was far from over. The cat was out of the bag, so Michael made a direct, high-speed approach to the warehouse. There were gun ports in the walls. Flashes came from them, and bullets skipped off the car. The warehouse door opened suddenly. Michael only saw the man with the anti-tank rocket launcher for a split second before a round was on its way. It hit short and blew a hole in the road. The Trans Am tore into the door, taking the whole thing down, and slid to a stop. The place was stocked with enough military hardware to make a terrorist smile. Then, Michael saw the grenade arc toward the stack of ammo and firecrackers. He hit reverse, burning rubber. The stupendous force of the blast lifted the Trans Am a good 2 inches off the ground. That was it. Then he heard it before he saw it. The tank, coming out of the smoke, crawling over the debris like some armored reptile. The 120mm cannon erupted, and the round put an irrigation ditch Trans Am. No options. Michael headed straight at the tank, hit the turbo boost, and flew right over it. He landed on the other side and spun the car, facing the tank. Like some sluggish beast, the tank turned and fired. This time, the shell struck a curved section of steel plate in the wreckage of the warehouse and boomeranged back, destroying the trapped monster with a huge explosion. Mission accomplished. Michael eased the Trans Am into gear and headed back for Chun-Li. Kit expressed a sense of relief. Michael laughed.
So that was Knight Rider Highway to Danger from 1985. So please like, subscribe, share, and comment, and have a groovy day. And our next book will be Transformers Storm of Destruction.